Okay.
It's pumping seawater through it constantly, and it's much more sensitive and reacts faster. However, it can't handle the temperature range that the temp probe can handle.
Right.
And it's not jacketed in titanium to keep it from being bent or broken as it gets jammed into hydrothermal vents.
Yep.
We counted up the number of temp probes on Herc the other day. I think we got to 8 or 9.
Yeah, because I think the oxygen sensor is a temp probe.
CTD, 2 super, temp probe, sound velocity profiler on Norbit, 2 IGTs, Mapper.
Mm-hmm.
Mapper had one.
So we got temperature down, that's what you're saying.
There's temperature coming from just about every part of the vehicle.
Yeah.
Not necessarily live in real time, but being recorded.
Well, and when we had the microbial experiments, we had another 6.
Are there temp probes in those?
And they've been recording since Massachusetts.
Ooh. Set them and forget them.
So I know you talked a little bit about this yesterday evening, Greg. We just got another question on Nautilus Live that I thought you might be able to answer briefly, was talking about the turnaround tasks for the ROVs once you get them back on deck.
Well, the turnaround tasks between this dive and the next dive are not anything Gabby and I have to worry about because we'll be off watch. Initially, it's just secure the vehicles, rinse everything, protect the camera covers, or protect the camera lenses with camera covers. And then water checks, we have to, this we forgot to mention yesterday, was milk the craft. Which sounds weird, but basically it's...
Yep, sounds pretty weird to me.
We put a catch bucket underneath the shoulder piston, which is a low point on the craft arm, and we will open a port there and drain the oil out. And the oil is drained fastest if you physically bring the arm all the way down and then back up and down and back up again.
Oh, you just pump it.
Yeah. Right, except it's like 200 pounds, so it's not the one arm pump for everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe you. But
yeah, I've noticed. I've only seen interns do that.
Oh, when you say pump it, you mean somebody physically has to lift the arm up and down?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that clears out any salt water that may have intruded into the arm. And then there's a whole slew of, we turn on and check everything as part of pre-dive.
So it really does get a rinse and a rub down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, milking the craft. We come up with weird terms for things is really what it comes down to.
I mean, I can't imagine another term that would be as descriptive as that, though.
You could say drain the craft, but that implies no action. That's a passive thing, whereas milking is active. Yeah. Gabby, you have any input on this conversation?
I agree wholeheartedly. with you.
Both of us?
Yep, I support milking the craft.
We should make stickers. I support milking the craft.
It's a great brand.
Imagine wearing a t-shirt.
Ah, what a delight that would be.
I'm a fan of craft milk. Royal purple.
Ugh,
RP22.
it's not good for you.
Not drinkable.
No.
Well, drinkable, don't do it. It's a lot of things out
Certainly
there
is
that
a
are drink.
liquid.
Yeah, certainly is a liquid, not for drinking.
You guys could do one of those shirts instead of the got milk, got craft milk.
I believe is it craft? They have a shirt with ROV on it, and it's toasting with an octopus.
With the arm?
Yeah.
Oh,
you
that's
mean
rad.
you mean they're clinking through glasses? It's not toasting the octopus.
It's not roasting the octopus.
Yeah.
No, they are
There's
clinking.
no toasters involved.
And therefore Mike was okay.
Not here to defend himself.
But I hope he's listening. There, we get to sail with Mike. He's out then.
Yep, that'll be great. That'll be great.
Oftentimes he and I end up like swapping for each other.
What do you mean?
So like he's out and then he goes
Oh.
home and I come out. and
Oh, gotcha. So you don't get to sail with him very often. That's too bad.
Which mic is this?
Hannaford.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
What other mic is there? There are
Mike
other mics?
Marin, Mike Brennan. There
Mike
are multiple.
Philemon?
Yeah, there are lots of mics.
Okay.
Some of which are sailing this year.
Yeah.
Some of which are not.
Right. I think we're down to two. We're 2 mics this year. It's a 2 mic year.
Is it a 2 mic year?
I think
it's a
Mike
1
Brennan's
mic.
out for.
He's he's lead scientist.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the Clipper.
Yep.
Oh, that makes sense.
Hannaford's.
Yeah.
Hannaford's out for everything after that.
Did you hear what Summer had that story where she like flew to St. Augustine and like walked into this meeting about a salvage that she and her dad's company were doing, and they met with like who walks in the door but Mike Brennan.
No kidding.
She's just
awesome.
like, oh, hi.
I know you.
Is Summer coming out this year?
Yeah.
Nice.
I think she's out for July.
Yeah, she's good.
Out for July.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, gotcha.
Yeah, it died around 1100, I think, on the way down.
So just keep squeezing it. We'll eventually get full depth.
We'll put water clamps on it. Okay.
So Wayne, is that what folks can see in the quad view, channel 3?
Yeah, channel 3 is the Argus. We call it the Argus butt camera, and that is the tether that you see on the right.
Yep, BSR and tether.
Yeah, and
And in the
recovery mode.
background, you can actually see the taillights on Herc.
Yeah, that's what it was catching my eye there, yeah. It's a neat view.
Yeah.
A few people have been appreciating it.
Yeah, well, that camera actually was giving us a spot of trouble at the deeper depths.
Right.
As we came up, so that'll be added to the checklist for the things that we have to take care of.
Yep.
Yep.
Before we go in again.
We have to reroute.
So.
I noticed as well, Greg, one of the tasks, you've got the huge clipboard in front of you, and you talk about the numbers game. Is that basically writing the voltages on every sort of piece of equipment when it comes up?
Yeah, it's just about every hour usually.
Okay. And the pressure and the various gauges as well.
Right. So it's kind of to spot any potential problem that's occurring. by checking the gauges on a regular basis.
Uh-huh.
Now we have a lot more things that are piped in digitally to the GUI that we didn't always have, which is quite nice.
So we,
Greg,
Yeah.
I didn't notice this before, but do you see the legs on the high voltage cabinet? I haven't usually seen them that unbalanced before. 42, 34, 42.
I've seen that before. It's
Okay.
most likely just the using the thrusters fully. No, that wouldn't make sense. I don't know, try turning off some lights. See what happens.
Well, the major draw on that is the high voltage
Motor.
motor.
Well, but that only takes it up to...
And that's only one phase, one leg of it.
No, that's a three-phase motor.
Three-phase?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that takes it up to like 34, 35, and then everything else is additional vehicle stuff.
I mean, I can... But, like, lights are not going to be
No, they're not
8
super...
amps at 2,800 volts.
They're not a huge draw.
I-
But we were running 40, 40, 40 on earlier, like 42,
Yeah,
42,
we always,
42. So
we usually run straight 40s when we're like bopping around on the seafloor.
did you say bopping?
Bopping.
Nice, I like it.
We did some healthy bops today.
I found a new knob on my chair. I'm currently pretty fast.
Which one?
The
The
lumbar?
support?
Yeah, on
That's
these.
a good one.
I didn't know about that.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, there's a knob right here.
Oh. I learned about the little pump for my lumbar support.
well, you've got the comfiest chair in the room, I think.
I'm ambivalent about the chair.
Okay.
Fine, I'll take it.
You the thing with this chair is that it's glued in front of the pilot station or bolted in front of the pilot
bolted.
station. So I'd have to give up the Herc spot if I gave up the chair. So really I shouldn't express so much ambivalence about the chair. I love this chair.
It's my favorite chair ever.
It's my favorite chair. Usually I see uniform amperage across the 3 legs.
Yeah. Mostly.
Okay.
Is any of the science equipment on?
Again, 10 amps at 2,800 volts.
Yeah, it's a lot of watts.
Yeah.
Somebody doing the math?
Well, you can add a 0.
Yeah, the 10 makes that easy.
I mean, I guess that's sort of rounding up. It's really 8, but
I can hear the squeeze.
I think you're at maximum inflation and it's just...
no. It doesn't.
No, that's inhale. It exhausts here. I've spent a lot of time exploring that chair during mapping legs.
That's great. There's no other ways we could interpret that statement. Thank you.
I broke Gabby.
For anyone who can hear the laughter through my mic, that's Gabby.
I think she slipped a giggler. Her giggler is stuck.
Speeding up.
I have this image of you like with a magnifying glass. Going over every inch of the chair.
We just passed through 1,000 meters.
Yep. About an hour to the surface.
Wonderful.
I think a magnifying glass inspection of that chair would be terrifying.
Oh, whoa.
Oh, what was that? A big red
Can we
landed
scroll
on
back
us?
down on the jellyfish?
Oh,
Yeah, that was a big
Oh,
red.
and he's gone.
Has landed in the front porch.
grab it.
There we go.
Was that a big red?
That was.
Possibly?
I mean, it was big and red.
You're not wrong.
Can confirm.
You're asking the person with the wrong degree.
Who's got the magic 8 ball? Shake it up. All signs say yes.
So for those of you watching on Nautilus Live, we're in the blue water phase at the end of today's dive. We're ascending the vehicles to the surface, hoping to get there in about 1 hour from now. That would put us at just before 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. The recovery, once we're on the surface, that's a pretty slick and smooth operation, usually, taking anywhere between about 10 minutes at its fastest, maybe 20 minutes if there's a little bit of positioning to do. I'm not sure what the light conditions will be like at about 8 o'clock, but there should be enough light on deck to actually see that take place. The whole back deck will be lit up as well, so you can follow that on Nautilus Live. We're still following the Nautilus Live question feed, so we're doing our best to sort of steer the conversation through the waypoints of some of your questions. I'm busy watching the Argus pilot explore every possible position combination that his chair can get into.
Well, there's a lean back feature that's just not.
Yeah.
kicking.
If you hear on the chat tomorrow about the broken Argus pilot
There we
chair, you'll know where that's come from.
Found it.
He's now sitting about a foot off the floor.
Well, somebody switched Argus and Nav's chair because
Yeah.
there's a big old wad of dried grease on this one.
I'm not going there. You can open that one, but I'm not going there.
I'm going to assume that was actually done on a mapping cruise. So.
No comment.
So these today's dive, let me give you just a few highlights from that. We basically spent the day at the Sea Cliff hydrothermal vent site, which is part of the Gorda Ridge marine formation, the tectonic plate boundary between the Gorda and the Pacific plates that forms this submarine rift valley. We were working at basically the valley edges, the steep cliffs at one side of that marine feature. There's a pretty rich and active field of hydrothermal vents there, about 2.7 kilometers under the ocean. We spent a fair bit of time deploying experiments at certain of those vents, both measuring temperatures, collecting samples of vent fluids for either geochemical analyses using these isobaric gas tights that you can see on the Hercules front view. The arm of Mongo is just resting above those, keeping them in position. That's basically vent fluid that was captured at ambient pressure, 2.7 kilometers under the ocean, and we're keeping it at that pressure as we ascend through the water column to then be sampled in our wet lab back on board. We've also sampled a lot of the vent fluid to look for any microbial life, thank you, entrained within it that might possibly, this is basically a neat way of, by filtering the vent water and looking for microorganisms in there, we can gain insight into what might actually be growing inside the vents themselves without having to actually disrupt them or go take vent samples. So that's another biological package that the scientists on board will be beginning to analyze this evening. They'll actually be taking those filters that we pump the seawater through and then seeing if they can culture any microbial systems from there, any bacteria or archaea. And that was pretty much the day. We did a few visual transects across the site as well. We have a pretty regular planned dive schedule each day. once we recover the ROVs this evening, we hope to be back in the water at 4 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow morning. That would put us, that schedule would, if everything goes to plan, put us back on the bottom again somewhere between 6 and 7 in the morning, if you're thinking of joining us again.
And we'll be back on watch for that.
Oh, that's true, yeah. You guys get the squeeze as much sleep as you can into the 8-hour gap schedule.
Yeah,
So
it's usually and we're up at 3 to help finish things up, even though watch doesn't start until 4. But to help finish things up, that way we can launch at 4. And so yeah, 6 hours of sleep is nice if you can get it, 5 to 6. Last night was 4. And then hopefully you get a nap in the day at some point.
yeah, I did the 4 to 8 shift with Ocean Networks Canada a couple of years ago, and I found the hardest thing when you come off shift at 8 o'clock in the evening was actually getting your brain to slow down from the stimulation of having been on.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I could get to sleep by 9 o'clock, that was a big success.
Yep. Miles, where were we when we were filtering for larva?
You mean today?
No. We took the suction sampler and like held it in a direction away from the vehicle. It was again venting fluids and stuff like that. I think it might have been Pescadero Basin again, or Guaymas.
Yeah, I think it was Guaymas or Pescadero.
It's basically following the theory of how do new vent sites get populated.
Oh, that's true. But yeah, by essentially expelling the larva of the tube worms into the current and seeing where they end up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so we were filtering for larvae, and we got some.
Okay.
Which is pretty neat.
Is that just in the water column?
That was down. We were set down on the bottom near some diffuse flow.
Okay.
What spurred that? I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, he was talking about filtering for things, small things like bacteria, and I was like, we did some other major filtering.
Uh-huh.
But that wasn't with the super. That was just with our standard suction sampler.
With the finer mesh filter.
Oh, that's true, because on the cassette on the front of Hercules, you've got the biological sample containers with meshes on them of different sizes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so they brought a very fine mesh that we put one of our thicker meshes behind just to give it some kind of structural integrity.
Okay.
And basically ran that until it clogged. That was actually a pretty science-heavy cruise.
It was.
They had a whole list of things that, like once we sat down, you could be sat down in the same spot for the entire watch.
Right.
Just, doing samples in the right order. But at the end of the cruise, everybody seemed pretty happy, so that's good.
That's the way we like it.
Yeah, my first captain told me that we're actually in the service industry, and made a lot of sense.
Right. So one thing I like about these blue water watches is we can actually, really dive down into some of you guys' technical questions that you post on Nautilus Live. And just one person posted a question that we actually answered a little bit earlier, but I just wanted to repeat it quickly for you, that not on the Nautilus, but we heard from a couple of the pilots that they have been on ships before where they do actually use a 3D printer on board to make bespoke parts for the ROVs, normally brackets. But I just wanted to mention that because another great question we had is somebody was asking, where can people actually find, even if they can, technical specs for Mongo or the Craft Predator so they could model them in a CAD system?
Well, Craft is a robotics company in Kansas, Kentucky. I think it's one of the. I think it's
on
one of the K states.
Right.
And Mongo is an ISE. ISE.
ISE. Yeah.
India Sierra Echo ARM.
And so they may have specs on their websites or are companies that you could contact for stuff like that.
That's a good tip. Thank you.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Kraft does most of their sales for nuclear reactors.
Oh, interesting. The link I heard before was the auto industry.
I could see that, but I don't think that they... I don't know, maybe.
Greg, I'm going to switch direction.
Sure. Change it up. You do you.
Oh, I will.
To the contributor on Nautilus Live who says they're wearing their Nautilus Live pajamas, is that actually a thing? I await your answer eagerly. I mean, we're interested in any kind of swag we can get our hands on, sorry, on this boat. You can actually tell how long somebody's been coming to the Nautilus by how retro their Nautilus-themed wear is.
Yeah, I have a hat from year one, and well, not year one, but year one that they had that logo, I think. And I don't know where it is. I lost it today.
Oh dear.
Yeah. I mean, it's seen better days.
It's with your water bottle.
No, I have my water bottle.
I saw it. There was a hat attached to the whiteboard earlier.
No, it's not old enough.
Okay.
It's probably time I get a new hat, I'm going to be honest.
What you looking for, Gabby?
Yeah, go for it. Just don't do it here.
You're coming back to starboard, right?
Yes, I just started coming back to starboard.
Cool.
So does the Herc pilot seat actually rotate, or is it fixed there, facing forwards all the time?
You have to unlock it.
Oh, so it locks and unlocks, just in case we're really rolling around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there's a Dumbo.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Well, there's something there. I didn't quite see what it was. You got a better view than me.
It was a Dumbo ear.
Nice.
Squid. Yeah, coming down the 200 to 500 meter range was the random wildlife.
That's true. Yeah, we saw the squid bouncing into the front porch this morning. That was fun.
And then the shark was a little shallower.
Yep.
Yeah, we saw a shark on the way down. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
On recovery yesterday. Did he actually climb on top? Was he actually on top of Herc?
Yes, at one point he was on top of Herc.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was up in the crane and it was just like, yeah, that's a sea lion on top of Herc. You do you.
Mm-hmm. Did that slow down the process at all, or you just tugged away?
No, he was moving too quickly to really stay in one place. Or I'm sure there was some good video though.
Yeah.
You were up here.
Yeah, I could see him in butt.
Did he ever come in front of the HD?
Nope.
We got a neat view a couple of years ago when a couple of hundred albatross mistook us for a commercial fishing vessel, and so as we were recovering Herc, we could see all of their feet under the water just all around Herc. That was neat.
Yeah, and we've had like krill or basically some kind of small bait fish like school in front of us because of the light, you know, and you can't get any work done because all you can see is fish or krill or whatever. And one of the ways to deal with that is we'll turn off all the lights on Hercules and try to attract them up to Argus.
Sorry, yeah, I see.
Yeah, they got so thick one time they blocked out our DVL.
The old bait and switch, huh?
I think it was Osborne Bank where we saw sea lions at depth.
Okay. When you say at depth, what kind of depth?
We were like 90.
Okay.
There are places in Osborne Bank where if it's daylight, you don't even fly with your lights on.
Right.
In Guaymas, we had that sea turtle check us out at the surface and then down at about 500
neat.
meters. Yeah.
That's really awesome.
We couldn't yaw around quick enough to keep up with it.
Oh,
And
really?
it was like 5 meters out from us doing a bigger circle. It was hollow.
Wow. I didn't realize they went that fast.
Do any of you remember what depth we encountered the sperm whale at? I mean, I've seen it.
It was like 3 days before I got on the boat.
Okay.
Mike Philemon was piloting for that one.
I've seen it so many times on Nautilus Live, and we've got the loop that plays in the lounge when we're in dock. But I never knew what the depth was.
No, I don't know. There have been times where we've seen a whale like right next to the ship, and like you kind of hope that he dives down to check out the vehicles, but
I mean,
very
they'll
rare.
be able to hear the vehicles.
Oh,
they
yeah,
could
yeah.
find them if they wanted to, if they were interested,
Yeah.
for sure.
You know, one thing I have never seen with this vehicle is an oarfish.
A what now?
An oarfish?
What's an oarfish look like?
They're like, what are they, the king of the sardines or king of the
They're
mackerel?
super long, like 20, 30 feet.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they're deep sea Asian fish. They're an omen of tsunamis in Japan.
OAR?
Yeah, OAR. Now, actually, I think we might have seen one once. Rennie was on watch, but
They're like all tail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to go and check it out, and Rennie's like, no, turn here, look at this real quick. And we turned, and when we looked back, it was gone. I was like, I don't know. I think that was an oarfish. Yeah, they're pretty neat. But actually, if you look up like oarfish and ROV, there's a theory that they are attracted to the ground fault detection.
Oh, the pulse of the bender?
Yeah.
Interesting. The vehicle is loud in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah,
Like it's
it's
electrically
terribly
noisy
annoying.
and it's acoustically noisy.
Ugh.
It's ginormous.
Yeah.
It's just massive.
So how much power goes into the USBL in terms of, is it right to quote it in decibels or that kind of thing?
It's between 13 and 16 kilohertz. Like it modulates between
Yeah.
like through that range.
Well, that's the frequency. I was
I'm
just
not
wondering
sure
what the...
the power is. in
Okay.
it.
We can just hear it in air.
Okay. So if it's on the deck and it's operating, you can actually hear a kind of a
Yeah.
Yep,
An
you'll
aud-
hear the ping.
audible pulse.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can convince the interns that you know what the ping means.
Means here.
I'm over here. I'm over here. I'm over here.
So for those of you who are just asking on Nautilus Live about what's it actually like in the control van, once, you know, depending on where we are in the world, why do we often talk about wearing fleeces and hats and everything inside the control room? And that's because of all the computers in here. We have a pretty powerful air conditioning system. And depending upon where you sit in the control van, you'll either be quite warm or you'll get an Arctic blast. The science communication seat and the video engineer seat are quite famous for being right underneath the air conditioning unit, and so I'm wearing I think a t-shirt, a fleece, and a windproof vest at the moment. I'm just about a good temperature.
And Wayne is in shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah, you must be out of the flow.
Yeah, I came up for my shift early to fix a problem, and I just stayed up here.
Yeah.
Regretting it.
Are you just toughing it out?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not too bad.
Okay.
I'm in sort of a warm backwater over here. It's actually quite nice.
Greg's in the meat locker.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cold there.
We're actually getting another AC unit installed before we go to the South Pacific because we expect it to be warmer.
Right, just to really bump it up.
To be a little bit more of a challenge to keep it cool.
Yeah.
It will be warmer.
That's going to be another whole van unit?
Yeah,
through the ducting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
so
going to be up top.
I will lose my nice little corner.
Yeah.
What's it like in the back row, Ashley?
Pretty cold. We got another air conditioner right above me.
Right.
Basically, so.
Yep. What's important is not our comfort, it's the electronics.
Yeah.
Basically, we're sitting inside a server room.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good description. So when's the last time you did a recovery?
That would be last year DFO. So last August.
I find 10 months is a good time to space in between them.
Oh, God. It's basically like I haven't done one, I guess. At the 10-month mark.
You got it.
Yeah, sure.
I would say, like, there's really not much that we're going to need to do for stopping at 50, I don't think. Sometimes I don't stop at 50, and then if it turns out that, like, they're not coming up, then, or, like, they haven't taken control of the winch, then I will stop.
So just following up on that point about the South Pacific we were just talking about there, I actually forget the exact dates when we're going to be operating in the South Pacific, but if you go to nautiluslive.org and click on the expedition, you can see where we're going to be and when we're going to be.
On this next round, I might pause at the back of the ship. Right. Because we may have to deal with surface currents anyway.
So just to answer a quick question on Nautilus Live, if you're watching the quad view, the satellite feed channel 3 or the bottom left view, that's actually the butt cam on Argus, and the lights you can see the tether going off into the gloom, and then you can actually see the lights of Hercules there as both vehicles are ascending. What depth are we at now, Greg?
We are at 570 meters.
Okay.
Greg, I'm gonna slow us down.
Okay.
Or sorry, speed us up.
Speed us up.
Speeding us up.
What is the ascent rate, Gabby?
It should be 17 or 18.
It depends on
That's
the
meter.
trick. Yeah. If it is meters per minute, but it depends on if we're lateraling to port or lateraling to starboard.
Okay.
What has been the ship has just stayed stationary for
We
Where do you
started
start?
moving ahead
just
yesterday.
a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well. Pretty well.
Good. Yeah, it came back at about like a 1,000 meters.
Yeah.
Nah, that's not what it's for anyways.
It's a little heavy.
So just a quick reply to Jack from Toronto. We actually answered the question about the snack a little bit earlier. It was some oatmeal cookies today. Sorry, you were going to say something, Wayne?
With raisins.
Thank you. Always, we like to give you the correct information here on nautiluslive.org. Keep your questions coming in as we continue to ascend to the surface. Looking at about 8 o'clock out of the water this evening. We'll have the ROVs on deck, and then we'll be working through the evening to prep everything for a dive tomorrow morning. Tentatively scheduled at 4 a.m. for ROVs back in the water. Tomorrow we'll be returning to the Seacliff hydrothermal vent field. That's just to kind of put you where that is on the map. That's about 180 kilometers off the coast of the west coast of North America, just off Oregon actually. These hydrothermal vent fields are associated with the Gorda Ridge marine fault. It's basically where the Pacific and the Gorda plates come together and create a large submarine rift valley about 3 kilometers under the ocean. We're working just on the sides of that rift valley at the site of hydrothermal activity. We'll be doing more experiments there tomorrow, sampling vent fluids and looking for interesting geochemistry and possible microbial activity. In the control room right now, we're actually not as full as we normally are. Most of the scientists have left the room and have gone for a pre-dive meeting for tomorrow's dive. So we have, I guess starting with myself, John Willis, the Science Communication Fellow. We've got Wayne, the video engineer, next to me. Then we've got Greg, the Argus pilot, Gabby, the Hercules pilot, and Miles, the navigator. The front row is pretty much set when the ROVs are in the water, and we have Ashley in the back row, who is our data logger, working away. I can actually see all of it. One new thing on Nautilus Live this year, Ashley, is I can see all of your log entries. So I can see what you're doing.
See mine?
Oh yeah, I can see your log entries just pop up as a refresh. I see about 4 or 5 minutes ago, I can see that you were looking at the jellies and the siphonophores.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then normally on the back row we'll have at least a couple of scientists and a watch leader, but as I said, they're kind of planning tomorrow's operations at the moment.
We just passed through 500 meters, so...
Yeah, and much as you predicted, Wayne. I mean, there's some marine snow out there on the screen, but I can see there's a lot of small creatures sort of in the water column.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah, there'll be an uptick on biological encounters.
What time is sunset at the moment? About 8:30? I don't know. I'm not asking you for an astronomical almanac, but it's still...
There should be a little bit of light when we come up.
Yeah.
But by the time Argus is secure on deck, I imagine
It'll be pretty dim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although actually a night recovery is quite good fun, because you can really see as Hercules comes to the surface, you can see its lights really well underwater, and then as it breaks the surface it has a locator beacon.
Yeah, it's easier to spot it.
Yeah.
But I think deck operations in general are a little bit safer with daylight.
Oh yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why when we do have control over our schedule for dives like this, they like to make as much use of the daylight time as they can.
Okay. Okay.
So.
So Ashley, I hope you don't mind if I put you on the spot again. I just got.
Oh no, go for it.
I just got a nice question on Nautilus Live. So the question is, what type of students do you look for when you choose your interns? And I thought the best way to answer that is just to ask you a little bit about your background and how you feel you kind of completed your journey to the Nautilus.
Yeah, sure. So I just graduated a couple weeks ago from the University of South Carolina, and I studied marine science and chemistry. And so I'm really interested in deep sea coral paleoceanography. So I wanted to learn more about how they do science in the deep sea and how they use ROVs and kind of how they operate all this. So I applied kind of with that intent, and thankfully they accepted me. We have other students on board. One girl, she's the ROV intern, Cassidy, and she just graduated with a mechanical engineering degree. So if you're interested in engineering, there's ROV operations that you can be a part of. There's also mapping interns, navigation interns, and video engineering interns. So a pretty wide array of interests that are applicable to Nautilus operations and deep sea ocean exploration.
Yeah, I think our navigation intern is Alex Wang. He's a senior year student at the U.S. Naval Academy at Annapolis. And what about the video interns, Wayne? Do you kind of have a sense of what you look for in the people who apply for the video internships?
Yeah, the video operations manager, Ed McNichol, he explained to me that for the interns for this season, they opened up applications, I think sometime in November, and they usually have to cease accepting applications when they reach 100. They then go through those and find 12 people to interview, and of those 12, 4 are the lucky few who get invited to come out and join us on board.
Okay.
So it can be a challenge to get accepted and to come on board, but it's also quite an honor.
Yeah, I'll add into that. I had applied the year before and didn't get it, but then I applied again this year. So sometimes persistence can pay off with this.
That's a really good point, Ashley.
Yeah, as you can imagine, interest in joining us out here is quite high.
Yeah.
So sometimes we're limited to those that stand out and and set themselves apart from the others. So
one thing I have noticed is that at least with video, you guys are pretty good about bringing successful interns back in as a video engineer. There's a good path there.
Yeah, that would definitely be part of Ed's plan.
Yeah.
Or his definitely is his doing. But yeah, I think Ed's been out here for quite a while. So for several years, he's seen quite a few people come and go. So he can tell a talented intern who might be able to contribute in a deeper capacity.
That's right.
So he's done an excellent job identifying people who have the skill set to keep the wheels turning out here.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's a really important consideration when you think about how we all work together in the control room. It's the more the personalities fit and can, adapt, that seems to make a successful team.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It can be challenging to work in a maritime environment like this, where you're living close quarters and you have limited freedoms with your time and personal space.
Yeah, yeah.
So when people come out here to do their interns, you see how well they handle themselves, they handle their tasks, and it's you can definitely build skill sets that can assist you in your future endeavors in life.
So I was just going to ask you, Ashley, in response to you saying that you applied kind of 2 years consecutively, and did you? Because I know you went to sea on a sail training ship.
I did, yeah.
Was that kind of in between those two applications?
Yeah, it was. So I did a study abroad program called Sea Semester, and you spend a couple of weeks in Woods Hole, Massachusetts, taking classes, and then I spent 6 weeks on a sailing ship, sailing from New Zealand to French Polynesia. So that was kind of in between both of those applications. So it was kind of nice having some research cruise experience before coming out here, because now I feel really comfortable working on a ship.
Yeah, and although I'm not involved in the selection process, I'm sure experiences like that are viewed positively.
Probably. I would
Yeah.
imagine so. We talked quite a bit about it in my interview.
Okay. No, but that was great, guys. Thank you. It's great to kind of give prospective interns a sense of, you know, what's involved in the process. So for those of you following on Nautilus Live, unfortunately we're probably going to have to close out the question session pretty soon. I'm John Willis, and I've been sat in the science communications seat, but I'm going to have to duck out before we recover the vehicles. I've got a couple of other things I've got to take care of this evening. Although we won't be following your questions, we'll still be broadcasting all of our video, and you can listen into our discussions on nautiluslive.org. You can follow the SPL, what we call the Science Party Line, as we go through recovery. We've probably got about another half an hour of ascent ahead of us before we recover, and so there's not much of the dive left over, but you can certainly follow us to the end. And then keep following us on, certainly if you follow us on Twitter at @EVNautilus, that's a great way to follow our live dive alerts. As I said, at the moment we're tentatively planning for a 4 a.m. ROVs in the water time tomorrow morning. That's Pacific time. So on that note, it's been great dealing with your questions and working through them, and I look forward to another great day tomorrow. So thanks a lot, guys.
At what point do you start going ahead? Okay. Okay. Do you stop the wash when Argus gets to the surface? And then you need Herc to actually drive back because it's no longer getting pulled back by a Ford. Yeah, I'm going to stop as soon as you start the ship forward because I'm already right behind the ship. What's on your mind? Oh, you think we're going to be thrusting too much? Okay. You think the current's going straight back? Okay. Well, I'm going to stop lateraling now. Just give it a little bit of horizontal. That settled out. That settled out really nicely for Herc too. Oh, no, there's current. Not a ton. What are you thinking about right now,
No,
Greg?
I would agree. I would agree.
Okay.
And every now, like, if there is a current, and Miles has done this before, we'll just do like massive step
Oh,
forward, and then when Argus gets to like 5 meters,
You move the ship into the...
you just...
You move Herc behind the ship,
Yeah.
or
And-
you move
and
the
so
ship
you're
in
just-
front of Herc.
Yeah. And so, like, but if you just have the ship moving forward, then when
Mhm.
Argus hits like 5 meters, you tell them to hold position. And so the jet pump, which is pushing this way, all of a sudden spins around and starts pushing towards the bow.
Uh-huh.
And therefore, Argus has a free path through the jet.
Oh, the moment when you change what the jet pump's doing. Yeah, I got you.
Right.
Timing on that is critical.
We started doing that last year, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like I saw that work.
The alternative is if you have a decent current, you can just disable
Right.
jet pump,
At
but
that
keep
moment.
bow thrusters so you don't
Right.
lose your
Lose
heading.
your heading.
Oleg has actually been instrumental in allowing that process to proceed
Okay.
because we got pushback from someone for many years.
Okay. So that's now a thing that we do, is disabling the jet pump or holding position at that moment.
Yeah, and even in really strong current, we've got them to just reduce the max thrust
Uh-huh.
to like 30 or 40%.
Uh-huh.
And, we'll slide back, but we still are thrusting forward.
Do
Right.
they get wire cam? How do they make that call when Argus is just there? You just say so?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're getting it from wire cam, basically.
Argus depth more,
Okay.
more so.
You can see the thrust wash really well in wire
Yeah.
cam.
But you can't really see, like, when Argus is, a few meters below the surface.
Okay. So far, Argus, or Herc is pretty happily trailing behind the ship.
Yeah. Yeah, we're pretty happy.
I would love a
Granted,
ship heading on here.
I'm turned sideways, but hey.
Yeah.
How would
Yeah.
you display that? Would you just do a ghost shape?
Oh, like a ghost shape of the ship?
Yeah. That rotates around?
Oh, that would be sweet. Like like a bezel?
Yeah, or just inside.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Or, I mean, a third needle is the first thing that comes to mind that's like just very, like this long and blue. But I really like the idea of like something on the outside.
Oh, that's.
Or
I was
something.
thinking more like this shape that fits
For
inside.
the needle. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so all three are great ideas.
They're not very different.
But I mean, ship heading is taken into account because if the ship does a 360, then the 6.8 gains a wrap.
Yeah.
So that information is being piped in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, for me, I use NavEst pretty well.
No.
Or
Okay.
what is it, NavG?
Yeah, yes, I agree. I just like, yeah.
It all in one spot.
It would,
Well, like
I think
it
about
would
all those
be-
things at once, but just for this point in the dive.
Right. It would be awesome if Argus was not corrected over there.
That would be fantastic.
And then you could look
Ooh,
there
and-
and get
and the
all the
para
headings.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah.